The year was 1349, and the halls of a grand medieval castle echoed with whispers of betrayal. A king, once revered as a mighty ruler, lay lifeless in his chambers, his death shrouded in shadows and secrets. No witnesses, no clear cause, just a throne left empty and a mystery that has baffled historians for centuries. What really happened that night? Was it treachery, an accident, or something far more sinister? This is just one of the 30 chilling tales of medieval kings whose deaths remain unsolved, their fates lost to time but their stories begging to be unraveled. From vanished monarchs to rulers found under suspicious circumstances, these unsolved mysteries offer a glimpse into a world of power, intrigue, and danger. So grab your cloak and lantern, because we're about to journey into the shadows of history, where every clue leads to more questions and every story leaves you wondering what really happened to these kings. Stay with us, because by the end of this video, you'll uncover the secrets, theories, and legends surrounding these enigmatic rulers, and you just might find yourself questioning everything you thought you knew about the medieval world. Let's begin. Now, let's step into the story of our first king, a ruler whose life and death have left historians scratching their heads for centuries. Meet King Edward II of England, a monarch whose reign was as tumultuous as his demise was mysterious. Crowned in 1307, Edward inherited a kingdom fraught with political tension and a legacy of conflict. His reign was marked by struggles with powerful barons, a disastrous military campaign in Scotland, and a strained relationship with his wife, Queen Isabella. But it was his sudden and unexplained death in 1327 that truly cemented his place in the annals of unsolved mysteries. Edward was deposed in a coup led by his wife and her lover, Roger Mortimer, and imprisoned in Berkeley Castle. Officially, his death was attributed to natural causes, but whispers of foul play began almost immediately. One of the most chilling theories suggests that Edward was murdered in a gruesome manner allegedly. A red-hot poker was used to kill him, leaving no external marks to arouse suspicion. This theory, while sensational, has been debated for centuries, with some historians arguing it was propaganda spread by his enemies to tarnish his legacy. Adding to the mystery, there are accounts that Edward may have escaped his captors and lived in exile, leaving behind a body double to be buried in his place. These conflicting narratives have made it nearly impossible to determine the truth. Was Edward II a victim of political assassination, or did he manage to slip away into obscurity? The lack of definitive evidence has turned his death into one of the most enduring puzzles of medieval history. As we unravel the threads of Edward's story, it's clear that his reign and death were shaped by the treacherous politics of his time. His legacy is a reminder of how power, betrayal, and ambition could seal a king's fate and leave behind a mystery that continues to captivate us today. And with that, we move forward to our next enigmatic ruler, whose story is equally shrouded in intrigue. Now, let's turn our attention to another ruler whose life and death remain cloaked in mystery, King Richard I of England, famously known as Richard the Lionheart. A warrior king whose name evokes images of bravery and chivalry, Richard's reign was defined by his military prowess and his relentless pursuit of glory on the battlefield. Crowned in 1189, he spent much of his reign abroad, leading the Third Crusade and earning a reputation as one of the most formidable knights of his time. Yet, despite his larger-than-life legacy, his death in 1199 remains one of history's most puzzling enigmas. Richard's final days began with a seemingly minor skirmish. While besieging the castle of Châlus-Chabrol in France, he was struck by a crossbow bolt fired from the castle walls. The wound, though not immediately fatal, became infected, and Richard succumbed to his injuries days later. At first glance, this might appear to be a straightforward case of a warrior meeting his end in battle. However, the circumstances surrounding his death are far more suspicious than they seem. For starters, the identity of the crossbowman who shot Richard has never been definitively established. Some accounts claim he was a lowly soldier, while others suggest he was acting on orders from someone higher up. The fact that Richard forgave the shooter on his deathbed only adds to the intrigue. Was this an act of genuine mercy, or was there more to the story? Adding to the mystery, Richard's death came at a time of intense political tension. His absence during the Crusades had left his kingdom vulnerable, and his brother, John, was already maneuvering to seize power. Some historians speculate that Richard's death was not an accident but a carefully orchestrated assassination designed to clear the way for John's ascent to the throne. Then there's the question of Richard's burial. His heart was removed and buried separately in Rouen, while the rest of his body was interred at Fontevraud Abbey. This unusual practice has led to speculation about whether it was meant to honor him or to conceal something more sinister. Richard the Lionheart's death is a reminder that even the most celebrated figures of history are not immune to the shadows of doubt and suspicion. Was he truly the victim of a random battlefield injury, or was his demise the result of a calculated plot? The lack of clear answers ensures that his story remains as compelling today as it was over 8 centuries ago. As we leave the tale of Richard the Lionheart behind, we prepare to delve into the life of our next king, whose story is equally shrouded in mystery and intrigue. Now we journey to the life and mysterious end of King Harold II of England, a ruler whose reign was as brief as it was tumultuous. Harold, often remembered as the last Anglo-Saxon king of England, ascended to the throne in January 1066 following the death of Edward the Confessor. His reign, however, was cut short just 9 months later at the Battle of Hastings, a pivotal moment in English history. But was Harold's death as straightforward as history often portrays it? The traditional account tells us that Harold fell in battle, struck down by an arrow to the eye, a dramatic and gruesome end immortalized in the Bayeux Tapestry. This version of events has been widely accepted for centuries, but historians have long debated its accuracy. Some argue that the tapestry's depiction is symbolic rather than literal, suggesting that Harold's death may have been embellished to serve a narrative purpose. Adding to the intrigue, there are alternative accounts of Harold's demise. One medieval chronicle claims that he was not killed by an arrow, but was instead hacked to death by Norman soldiers during the chaos of the battle. Another theory suggests that Harold survived the battle and fled to live out his days in obscurity, a story that has fueled countless legends and folktales. Folklore surrounding Harold's death is particularly rich. In some tales, he is said to have escaped to a remote monastery, where he lived under an assumed name until his natural death. Others claim he was spirited away by loyal followers and hidden in the English countryside, his true identity kept secret to protect him from Norman retribution. These stories, while unverified, reflect the enduring fascination with Harold's fate and the desire to imagine a different ending for the fallen king. Historians have also speculated about the political motivations behind Harold's death. His claim to the throne was contested by William the Conqueror, who argued that Edward the Confessor had promised him the crown. Some believe that Harold's death was not merely a result of battlefield chaos, but a deliberate act to eliminate a rival and secure William's claim. The lack of definitive evidence only deepens the mystery, leaving room for endless speculation. Harold II's death marks not only the end of an era but also the beginning of a new chapter in English history. Whether he died on the battlefield, escaped to live in hiding, or met some other fate, his story remains a captivating enigma. As we move forward, we'll explore yet another king whose life and death continue to puzzle historians and captivate imaginations. Turning our attention to another enigmatic figure, we now explore the life and mysterious death of King Richard I of England, famously known as Richard the Lionheart. A warrior king whose reign was marked by his absence from England, Richard's death in the year 1199 remains shrouded in intrigue and speculation. Richard's reign was dominated by his participation in the Third Crusade, a campaign that earned him legendary status but also left his kingdom vulnerable to political instability. Upon his return from the Holy Land, Richard faced numerous challenges, including rebellions and rivalries within his own family. His younger brother, John, who would later become king, was particularly ambitious and had been accused of conspiring against Richard during his absence. The circumstances of Richard's death are as dramatic as his life. While besieging the castle of Chalice in France, Richard was struck by a crossbow bolt fired from the castle walls. The wound, initially thought to be minor, became infected, leading to his death days later. But was this a simple case of a battlefield injury, or was there more to the story? Some historians suggest that Richard's death was not merely an accident but the result of a carefully orchestrated plot. The crossbowman who fired the fatal shot, a man named Pierre Bazile, was reportedly acting under orders from someone within Richard's own camp. Theories abound that Richard's enemies, including his brother John or even the French King Philip II, may have conspired to eliminate him. The political climate of the time was rife with betrayal and shifting alliances, making such a conspiracy plausible. Adding to the mystery, Richard's final moments were marked by unusual events. According to some accounts, he forgave his killer and even rewarded him with money before his death. Others claim that Richard's body was treated with disrespect after his passing, fueling suspicions of foul play. The lack of a clear and consistent historical record has allowed these theories to persist, keeping the mystery of Richard's death alive for centuries. Richard the Lionheart's death not only marked the end of a larger-than-life figure, but also set the stage for a turbulent period in English history. His brother John's subsequent reign was marred by conflict and controversy, further complicating the legacy of the Lionheart. Whether Richard's death was the result of a random battlefield injury or a calculated act of treachery, it remains one of the most enduring mysteries of medieval history. As we continue our journey through the lives and deaths of these enigmatic rulers, we'll next uncover the story of another king whose fate has puzzled historians for generations. Shifting our focus to another shadowy chapter of medieval history, we now delve into the life and perplexing death of King Harold II of England, often remembered as the last Anglo-Saxon king. Harold's reign was brief but pivotal, and his death at the Battle of Hastings in the year 1066 marked a turning point in English history. Yet, despite its significance, the details surrounding his demise remain clouded in uncertainty and debate. Harold's story is inseparable from the Norman conquest, a seismic event that reshaped England's political and cultural landscape. After ascending to the throne following the death of Edward the Confessor, Harold faced immediate challenges, including invasions from both the Normans, led by William the Conqueror, and the Norwegian king Harald Hardrada. Harold's victory over the Norwegians at the Battle of Stamford Bridge was a testament to his military prowess, but it left his forces exhausted and vulnerable as they marched south to confront William. The Battle of Hastings, fought on October 14, 1066, is one of the most famous conflicts in medieval history. According to the Bayeux Tapestry, a primary source of the era, Harold was struck in the eye by an arrow and killed during the battle. This vivid image has become iconic, but historians have long questioned its accuracy. Some accounts suggest that Harold was not killed by an arrow, but was instead cut down by Norman knights in the chaos of the fighting. Others propose that he survived the battle and fled, only to die later under mysterious circumstances. The lack of consistent historical records from the time adds to the confusion. While the Bayeux Tapestry provides a visual narrative, it was commissioned by the Normans and may have been influenced by their perspective. Anglo-Saxon chronicles, on the other hand, offer sparse details, leaving historians to piece together the events from fragmented and often contradictory sources. Modern investigations have attempted to shed light on Harold's death, Some researchers have analyzed the Bayeux Tapestry in greater detail, questioning whether the figure depicted with an arrow in his eye is actually Harold or another soldier. Others have examined the battlefield itself, using archaeological techniques to uncover clues about the final moments of the battle. Despite these efforts, no definitive evidence has emerged to resolve the mystery. Theories about Harold's fate continue to captivate historians and enthusiasts alike. Some suggest that his death was deliberately obscured to serve political purposes, while others argue that the chaos of the battle made it impossible to determine exactly what happened. What is clear, however, is that Harold's death marked the end of Anglo-Saxon rule in England and the beginning of Norman dominance, a transformation that would have lasting consequences for the nation. As we move forward in our exploration of these enigmatic rulers, we'll next uncover the story of another king whose death has left historians grappling with unanswered questions. Turning now to another tale shrouded in mystery, we explore the life and enigmatic death of King Richard I of England, famously known as Richard the Lionheart. Renowned for his bravery and military skill, Richard's reign was marked by his participation in the Crusades and his fierce battles against rivals. Yet his death in the year 1199 remains one of the most puzzling episodes in medieval history, blending fact with legend. Richard's legacy as a warrior king is well documented. He spent much of his reign abroad, leading campaigns in the Holy Land and defending his territories in France. His absence from England earned him both admiration and criticism, as his subjects bore the heavy costs of his wars. Despite his reputation as a fearless leader, Richard's death was anything but heroic. While besieging the castle of Chalice in France, he was struck by a crossbow bolt fired from the castle walls. The wound, though not immediately fatal, became infected, leading to his death days later. What makes Richard's death particularly intriguing are the strange circumstances surrounding it. The crossbowman who shot him, a young boy named Pierre Bazile, was reportedly acting on a whim, and some accounts suggest that Richard himself forgave the boy before his death. However, other versions of the story claim that Bazile was captured and executed in a gruesome manner, with his skin flayed and his body left as a warning. The conflicting accounts have left historians questioning the true sequence of events. Adding to the mystery are the supernatural and mythical elements tied to Richard's death. Some legends claim that the crossbow bolt was cursed and that Richard's demise was the result of divine retribution for his actions during the Crusades. Others suggest that his death was foretold by omens, such as a raven circling the battlefield or a dream in which he saw his own death. These tales, though likely embellished, reflect the enduring fascination with Richard's larger-than-life persona. The location of Richard's heart has also sparked curiosity. After his death, his body was divided, with his heart sent to Rouen as a symbol of his love for Normandy. Modern analysis of the hearts remains revealed traces of frankincense and myrrh, substances used in embalming, but also hints of mercury, leading some to speculate about poisoning. While this theory remains unproven, it adds another layer of intrigue to Richard's already mysterious end. Richard the Lionheart's death, like his life, is a blend of historical fact and enduring legend. His legacy as a warrior king continues to captivate, while the strange and supernatural elements of his demise keep historians and storytellers alike searching for answers. As we move forward, we'll uncover the story of another medieval monarch whose death remains cloaked in mystery. Now, let's journey to the heart of medieval Scandinavia, where the story of King Erik V of Denmark unfolds. Known as Erik the Memorable, his reign was marked by both prosperity and turmoil. But it's his sudden and violent death that has left historians scratching their heads for centuries. Erik ascended to the throne in the year 1286, inheriting a kingdom rife with political tension. His rule was characterized by efforts to strengthen royal authority, often clashing with the powerful Danish nobility. While he managed to secure some stability, his reign was far from peaceful. Yet it was not his policies or battles that would define his legacy, but rather the shocking events of his final night. On the evening of November 22nd, 1286, King Eric was traveling through the countryside with a small retinue. They stopped for the night in a barn near the village of Finderup. What happened next remains one of the most debated mysteries in Danish history. According to historical accounts, a group of assassins, believed to be disgruntled nobles, stormed the barn and brutally murdered the king. The attack was so savage that Eric's body bore over 50 wounds, a grim testament to the ferocity of the assault. The identity of the assassins has never been definitively proven, though many point to the powerful nobleman Stig Andersen H. Vide as the mastermind. H. Vide had been exiled by Eric and had every reason to seek revenge. However, no concrete evidence has ever surfaced to confirm his involvement, leaving the case open to speculation. Adding to the intrigue are the archaeological findings related to Eric's death. In the 19th century, his remains were exhumed, and the examination revealed the extent of the injuries he sustained. The sheer number of wounds suggests that the attack was not just an assassination but a symbolic act of defiance against the crown. Some historians argue that the brutality of the murder was meant to send a message to future kings about the dangers of challenging the nobility. Documents from the time also shed some light on the political climate surrounding Eric's death. Chronicles describe a kingdom in turmoil with factions vying for power and the king caught in the middle. Some accounts even suggest that Eric's own brother, Christopher, may have had a hand in the plot, though this theory remains unproven. The mystery of Eric V's death is further complicated by the lack of a clear motive. While the noble's discontent is often cited, some historians believe that personal vendettas or even foreign interference could have played a role. The absence of a definitive answer has allowed the story to take on a life of its own, blending historical fact with layers of speculation and legend. As we leave the shadowy tale of Eric V behind, we turn our attention to another medieval monarch whose death remains shrouded in mystery, proving once again that the past is never as simple as it seems. Now, as we step into the misty annals of medieval England, we encounter the enigmatic tale of King Edward V, whose brief reign and sudden disappearance have sparked centuries of speculation and intrigue. Edward, the eldest son of King Edward IV, was just 12 years old when he ascended to the throne in the year 1483. His reign, however, was destined to be one of the shortest and most mysterious in English history. Edward's story begins with promise as he was declared king following his father's death. But his youth and inexperience made him vulnerable to the political machinations of those around him. His uncle, Richard, Duke of Gloucester, was appointed as his protector, a role that would soon take a dark turn. Within months of Edward's coronation, he and his younger brother, Richard, Duke of York, were taken to the Tower of London, ostensibly for their safety. What happened next is a mystery that has baffled historians for centuries. The two princes were never seen again. Their disappearance sparked a wave of rumors and theories, with many pointing to their uncle, Richard, as the prime suspect. Richard, who later became King Richard III, had a clear motive: eliminating the young princes would secure his claim to the throne. However, no definitive evidence has ever been found to prove his guilt, leaving the fate of the princes shrouded in uncertainty. The mystery deepened in the 17th century when workers at the Tower of London discovered the skeletal remains of two children buried beneath a staircase. While many believe these to be the remains of Edward and his brother, conclusive proof has remained elusive. The discovery only added fuel to the fire, with debates raging over whether the princes were murdered, died of natural causes, or even escaped and lived in secret. Adding to the intrigue is the cultural significance of the princes' disappearance. Their story has become a cornerstone of English folklore, immortalized in literature, plays, and even modern media. William Shakespeare's portrayal of Richard III as a villainous usurper has cemented the narrative in popular imagination, though historians continue to debate the accuracy of this depiction. Theories about the prince's fate are as varied as they are compelling. Some suggest that Henry VII, who defeated Richard III at the Battle of Bosworth, may have orchestrated their deaths to eliminate any rival claimants to the throne. Others propose that the princes were smuggled out of the tower and lived under assumed identities. Despite the lack of concrete evidence, the mystery endures, a testament to the enduring fascination with this tragic chapter of English history. As we leave the haunting tale of Edward V behind, we turn our attention to another monarch whose death remains cloaked in mystery, reminding us that the past often holds more questions than answers. Shifting our focus to the rugged landscapes of medieval Scotland, we now delve into the perplexing demise of King Alexander III, a ruler whose sudden death left his kingdom in turmoil and his legacy shrouded in mystery. Alexander, known for his efforts to strengthen Scotland's independence and maintain peace with England, met an untimely end in the year 1286 under circumstances that remain unclear to this day. The events leading to Alexander's death are as puzzling as they are tragic. On a stormy night in March, the king was traveling to join his young wife, Yolande of Drew, at Kinghorn Castle in Fife. Despite warnings about the treacherous weather, Alexander insisted on making the journey. According to accounts, he became separated from his escort in the darkness and was later found dead at the base of a cliff. The official explanation was that his horse had lost its footing, causing the king to fall to his death. However, the lack of witnesses and the suspicious timing of his demise have fueled speculation for centuries. What makes Alexander's death particularly intriguing is the political vacuum it created. At the time of his death, Alexander had no surviving heirs, leaving Scotland without a clear successor. This uncertainty plunged the nation into a period of instability, eventually leading to the Wars of Scottish Independence. Some historians have suggested that Alexander's death may not have been an accident at all, but rather the result of a carefully orchestrated plot by rival factions seeking to destabilize the Scottish monarchy. The absence of concrete evidence has only deepened the mystery. No official investigation was conducted, and the accounts of his death were largely based on hearsay. This lack of documentation has allowed various theories to flourish. Some argue that Alexander's death was a tragic accident, while others point to the possibility of foul play, implicating powerful nobles or even foreign agents who stood to gain from Scotland's weakened state. Adding to the intrigue is the role of Alexander's marriage to Yolande. Some speculate that the king's eagerness to reunite with his wife that fateful night may have been exploited by those who wished him harm. Others suggest that Yolande herself may have been involved in a conspiracy, though there is no evidence to support such claims. The truth remains buried in the mists of time, leaving us to wonder whether Alexander's death was a mere accident or the result of a darker, more calculated scheme. As we reflect on the enigmatic end of King Alexander III, we are reminded of how the absence of witnesses and evidence can transform a historical event into an enduring mystery. His story serves as a poignant reminder of the fragility of power and the lengths to which rival factions might go to reshape the course of history. With this tale of intrigue behind us, we now turn our attention to another monarch whose death continues to baffle historians, proving once again that the past is often as elusive as it is fascinating. Turning our gaze to the sunlit plains of medieval France, we now explore the baffling death of King Louis X, a monarch whose passing remains one of history's most perplexing enigmas. Known as Louis the Quarrelsome for his contentious reign, his sudden death in the year 1316 has left historians scratching their heads for centuries. The circumstances surrounding Louis's demise are as contradictory as they are mysterious. Officially, the king died of pneumonia after a strenuous game of tennis on a hot summer day. However, this explanation has been met with skepticism, as the timeline of events and the symptoms described in historical records do not align neatly with such a diagnosis. Some accounts suggest that Louis fell ill after drinking chilled wine following the match, while others claim he was poisoned. The lack of a consistent narrative has only deepened the intrigue. Adding to the confusion is the political climate of the time. Louis's reign was marked by intense power struggles, both within his court and with external rivals. His death came at a critical moment, just as he was preparing to lead a military campaign against Flanders. Some historians argue that his sudden illness or poisoning may have been orchestrated by those who stood to benefit from his absence. The possibility of foul play has been a subject of debate for generations, with theories ranging from a conspiracy by his own advisors to interference by foreign powers. Modern interpretations of Louis's death have only added layers to the mystery. Recent studies have examined the symptoms described in historical texts, suggesting that they could point to conditions such as heat stroke or even a rare infection. Others have revisited the poisoning theory, proposing that the king may have been targeted with a substance that mimicked natural illness. Despite these efforts, no definitive conclusion has been reached, leaving Louis's death as one of the great unsolved puzzles of medieval history. What makes this case particularly fascinating is the ripple effect it had on France's future. Louis's death left the throne to his infant son, John I, who tragically lived only 5 days. This succession crisis plunged France into a period of instability, eventually leading to the rise of the Valois dynasty. The timing and nature of Louis's death, therefore, not only shaped his legacy but also altered the course of French history. As we ponder the conflicting accounts and theories surrounding King Louis X, we are reminded of how history often leaves us with more questions than answers. His story is a testament to the enduring allure of unsolved mysteries and the ways in which they continue to captivate our imagination. With this tale of intrigue behind us, we now journey to another corner of medieval Europe, where the death of yet another king remains cloaked in uncertainty, proving once again that the past is as enigmatic as it is fascinating. Now, let us venture into the misty highlands of Scotland, where the life and death of King Alexander III remain shrouded in mystery. Alexander, known as the last great king of Scotland's Golden Age, ruled during a time of relative peace and prosperity. His reign, which began in the year 1249, was marked by efforts to strengthen Scotland's independence and secure its borders. Yet, his sudden and tragic death in the year 1286 would plunge the nation into chaos and set the stage for the wars of Scottish independence. The events leading to Alexander's death are as dramatic as they are perplexing. On a stormy night in March, the king was traveling to meet his young wife, Yolande of Dreux, at Kinghorn in Fife. Despite warnings about the treacherous weather, Alexander insisted on making the journey. According to historical accounts, he became separated from his escort in the darkness and was later found dead at the base of a cliff. The official explanation was that his horse had lost its footing in the storm, causing the king to fall to his death. However, this straightforward account has been met with skepticism over the centuries. The circumstances of Alexander's death have given rise to numerous theories and legends. Some suggest that the king's fall was no accident but the result of foul play. Given the political tensions of the time, it's possible that Alexander's death was orchestrated by those who sought to destabilize Scotland. Others point to the eerie timing of his demise, coming just months after the death of his only heir, Margaret, which left the throne vulnerable. Folklore even weaves a supernatural element into the story, with tales of a mysterious figure or spirit luring the king to his doom on that fateful night. The aftermath of Alexander's death was nothing short of catastrophic for Scotland. With no clear successor, the kingdom descended into a period of turmoil known as the Great Cause, as rival claimants vied for the throne. This power vacuum ultimately led to English intervention and the long, bitter struggle for Scottish independence. the ripple effects of Alexander's untimely death would shape the course of Scottish history for generations. Despite the passage of centuries, the mystery of Alexander III's death endures. Was it a tragic accident, a carefully plotted assassination, or something more otherworldly? The lack of definitive answers has only added to the intrigue, making his story a captivating chapter in the annals of medieval history. As we leave the windswept cliffs of Scotland behind, we turn our attention to another monarch whose death remains cloaked in uncertainty, reminding us once again that the past is a tapestry woven with threads of mystery and wonder. Now we journey to the sun-drenched lands of Castile, where the story of King Alfonso X, known as Alfonso the Wise, unfolds. Alfonso, who reigned from the year 1252 to 1284, was a monarch of remarkable intellect and ambition. His reign is often celebrated as a golden age of learning and culture, marked by his patronage of science, literature, and the arts. Alfonso commissioned the translation of numerous works from Arabic and Hebrew into Castilian, laying the foundation for Spain's rich literary tradition. His legal code, the Siete Partidas, remains one of the most influential legal documents in European history. Yet, for all his brilliance, Alfonso's later years were marred by personal tragedy and political strife. His ambitious efforts to claim the title of Holy Roman Emperor drained Castile's resources and alienated many of his subjects. As his health declined, so too did his grip on power. His son, Sancho, openly rebelled against him, leading to a bitter civil war that fractured the kingdom. Alfonso spent his final years in isolation, stripped of much of his authority, and died in Seville in the year 1284. The circumstances of Alfonso's death have long been a subject of debate. Officially, he succumbed to natural causes, likely exacerbated by the stress of his tumultuous reign. However, whispers of foul play have persisted for centuries. Some historians speculate that his son Sancho, eager to secure the throne, may have hastened his father's demise. Others point to the possibility of poisoning by political rivals who sought to end Alfonso's influence. Adding to the mystery is the king's own legacy. Despite his achievements, Alfonso's final years were marked by failure and disillusionment. His dream of becoming Holy Roman Emperor never materialized, and his kingdom was left weakened by internal conflict. Yet his contributions to science, law, and culture endure, cementing his place as one of medieval Spain's most fascinating figures. As we leave the court of Alfonso the Wise, we are reminded that even the most brilliant minds are not immune to the shadows of mystery. His story, like so many others, invites us to ponder the complexities of power, ambition, and the human condition. Next, we turn our gaze to the rugged mountains of Norway, where another king's life and death remain cloaked in enigma, offering yet another glimpse into the enduring allure of medieval mysteries. Now we venture into the misty fjords of Norway, where the tale of King Håkon V unfolds. Håkon, who ruled from the year 1299 to 1319, was a king known for his efforts to strengthen Norway's monarchy and expand its influence. His reign was marked by significant reforms, including the consolidation of royal power and the establishment of a more centralized government. Håkon's leadership helped shape Norway into a formidable kingdom during a time of shifting alliances and regional rivalries. However, Håkon's death in the year 1319 remains shrouded in mystery. Officially, he died of natural causes, but the circumstances surrounding his passing have sparked endless speculation. Some accounts suggest that Håkon fell ill suddenly, while others hint at a more sinister explanation. One theory proposes that he was poisoned by political enemies who sought to destabilize the Norwegian throne. Another intriguing possibility is that his death was linked to a curse, as rumors of supernatural forces at play have persisted for centuries. Adding to the intrigue is a legend tied to Håkon's final days. According to folklore, the king was visited by a spectral figure, a harbinger of doom shortly before his death. This apparition, described as a shadowy figure cloaked in mist, is said to have foretold Haakon's demise, leaving those who witnessed it deeply unsettled. While such tales are often dismissed as myth, they contribute to the enduring enigma of Haakon's death. Historians have also debated whether Haakon's passing was connected to the broader political tensions of the time. His reign saw Norway embroiled in conflicts with neighboring powers, and some believe his death may have been orchestrated to weaken the kingdom's position. Yet, despite these theories, no definitive evidence has emerged to solve the mystery. Haakon's legacy, much like his death, is a blend of fact and folklore. His contributions to Norway's governance are undeniable, but the supernatural elements surrounding his demise continue to captivate the imagination. As we leave the icy shores of Norway, we are reminded that even the most powerful rulers are not immune to the whispers of the unknown. Next, we travel to the windswept plains of Hungary, where another king's life and death remain cloaked in mystery, offering yet another chapter in the saga of medieval enigmas. Turning our gaze to the heart of medieval Hungary, we encounter the enigmatic story of King Charles I, whose reign and untimely death remain steeped in mystery. Ascending to the throne in the early 14th century, Charles faced a fractured kingdom, torn apart by rival noble factions and external threats. His rule was marked by relentless efforts to unify Hungary, strengthen its monarchy, and restore stability to a land plagued by chaos. Yet, despite his achievements, his death in the year 1342 has left historians puzzled for centuries. Officially, Charles died from an illness, but the circumstances surrounding his passing have fueled countless theories. The political climate of his time was volatile, with powerful noble families vying for control and foreign powers seeking to exploit Hungary's instability. Some historians suggest that Charles's death was not a natural occurrence but the result of a carefully orchestrated plot. His reforms, which aimed to curb the influence of the nobility, had earned him many enemies, and it's possible that one of these factions saw his removal as a necessary step to reclaim their power. Another angle points to the possibility of assassination. Charles was known to travel extensively to consolidate his rule, often venturing into regions where his authority was tenuous. During one such journey, he fell ill and died under suspicious circumstances. Was it a sudden illness, as the records claim, or was it something more sinister? The lack of detailed accounts from the time only deepens the mystery. Adding to the intrigue is the role of external forces. Hungary's strategic location made it a target for neighboring kingdoms, and some believe that foreign agents may have played a part in Charles's demise. The kingdom's alliances and rivalries were complex, and his death could have been a calculated move to weaken Hungary's position in the region. Despite the many theories, no conclusive evidence has ever been found to explain Charles's death. His legacy, however, is undeniable. He laid the groundwork for a stronger, more centralized Hungary, and his efforts paved the way for future rulers to build upon his achievements. Yet the shadow of his mysterious end lingers, a reminder of the precarious nature of power in the medieval world. As we leave the windswept plains of Hungary, we are drawn to the next chapter of our journey, where another king's life and death await, shrouded in the same veil of intrigue and uncertainty. Now we journey to the rugged landscapes of medieval Scotland, where the tale of King Alexander III unfolds, a story as dramatic as it is mysterious. Alexander, who ruled from the year 1249 to 1286, is remembered as a king who brought relative peace and prosperity to Scotland during his reign. However, his sudden and tragic death in 1286 has left historians grappling with more questions than answers. The official account states that Alexander died in a riding accident on a stormy night. While returning to his queen in Fife, he became separated from his escort and was later found dead at the base of a cliff. At first glance, this seems like a straightforward tragedy, but the lack of detailed records and conflicting reports from the time have cast doubt on this explanation. Some historians argue that the circumstances of his death are too convenient. Alexander's reign had been marked by efforts to centralize power and reduce the influence of Scotland's powerful noble families. His policies had made him enemies, and his death came at a critical moment, just as he was preparing to secure the succession of his granddaughter, Margaret, known as the Maid of Norway. Could his death have been orchestrated to destabilize the kingdom and weaken the monarchy? Modern investigations have attempted to shed light on this mystery. Forensic experts have analyzed the terrain where Alexander was found, questioning whether a fall from the cliff would have been fatal under the conditions described. Others have examined the political climate of the time, noting that Alexander's death plunged Scotland into a succession crisis, leading to decades of instability and conflict. This has led some to speculate that his death was not an accident but a carefully planned act of sabotage. Adding to the intrigue is the role of folklore. Over the centuries, legends have emerged suggesting that Alexander's death was the result of a curse or divine retribution. While these tales are not grounded in historical fact, they reflect the enduring fascination with his untimely demise. Despite the efforts of modern scholars, the truth behind Alexander's death remains elusive. What we do know is that his passing marked the end of a golden age for Scotland and set the stage for a turbulent period in its history. As we leave the misty highlands behind, we turn our attention to another king whose life and death continue to captivate and confound us. Now, we shift our focus to the enigmatic tale of King Erik V of Denmark, a ruler whose life and death are shrouded in mystery and intrigue. Known as Erik V or Erik Glipping, he ascended to the throne in the year 1259, inheriting a kingdom fraught with internal strife and external threats. His reign was marked by efforts to consolidate power and navigate the turbulent politics of medieval Scandinavia, but it is his untimely and bizarre death that has captured the imagination of historians and storytellers alike. On a cold November night in 1286, King Erik was found murdered in a barn in the village of Finderup. The official account claims that he was assassinated by a group of disgruntled nobles, but the details surrounding his death are anything but straightforward. The circumstances were suspicious from the start. Erik had been traveling with a small retinue, and the attack occurred in a remote location far from the safety of his court. What's more, the manner of his death was particularly gruesome, with reports suggesting he was stabbed multiple times while he slept. Theories about his assassination abound. Some historians believe that the murder was a calculated act of revenge by nobles who had grown weary of Erik's heavy-handed policies. Others suggest that it was part of a larger conspiracy to destabilize the Danish monarchy and shift the balance of power in the region. Adding to the mystery is the fact that no one was ever formally held accountable for the crime, leaving the true motives and identities of the killers buried in the annals of history. But the story doesn't end there. Over the centuries, King Erik's death has taken on a mythical quality. Folklore tells of a curse placed upon his killers, with tales of ghostly apparitions and strange occurrences haunting those involved in the plot. One legend even claims that Erik's spirit roams the countryside, seeking justice for his murder. While these stories are more fiction than fact, they reflect the enduring fascination with his tragic end and the unanswered questions that surround it. King Erik V's legacy is a complex one. His reign was a time of both progress and turmoil, and his death marked the beginning of a period of instability for Denmark. Yet, it is the mystery of his assassination that continues to captivate us, a reminder of the fragile nature of power and the shadows that linger in the corridors of history. As we leave Denmark behind, we turn our attention to another king whose life and death remain cloaked in mystery. Now, let us journey to the heart of medieval England, where the story of King Edward II unfolds, a monarch whose reign and death are steeped in controversy and unanswered questions. Edward II, crowned in the year 1307, ruled during a time of political unrest and personal turmoil. His reign was marked by a series of military failures, strained relationships with his nobles, and a controversial reliance on his favorites, which ultimately led to his downfall. But it is the circumstances of his death that have left historians and scholars scratching their heads for centuries. In the year 1327, Edward was forced to abdicate the throne in favor of his son, Edward III, following a rebellion led by his own wife, Queen Isabella, and her ally, Roger Mortimer. After his abdication, Edward was imprisoned in Berkeley Castle, where he met his end under mysterious circumstances in September 1327. The official account claims that Edward died of natural causes, but this explanation has been met with widespread skepticism. The most enduring and shocking theory is that Edward was murdered in a manner designed to leave no visible marks on his body. According to one gruesome account, a red-hot iron rod was inserted into his body through a horn, a method that would have been both excruciating and undetectable upon a superficial examination. This theory, while horrifying, aligns with the political climate of the time, as Edward's death would have removed a significant threat to Isabella and Mortimer's hold on power. Adding to the intrigue are the archaeological findings and historical documents that have surfaced over the years. In the 20th century, excavations at Berkeley Castle revealed evidence of a possible secret escape route, fueling speculation that Edward might have survived his imprisonment and fled. While this theory remains unproven, it highlights the enduring fascination with his fate. Additionally, letters and chronicles from the period offer conflicting accounts of his death, with some sources suggesting he was killed outright, while others imply he died of illness or neglect. The mystery of Edward II's death is further complicated by the lack of a definitive burial site. While his tomb in Gloucester Cathedral is widely believed to contain his remains, some historians argue that the body interred there may not be his. This uncertainty has only deepened the enigma surrounding his final days. Edward's legacy is one of tragedy and intrigue. His reign was fraught with challenges, and his death remains one of the most debated topics in medieval history. Whether he was murdered, died of natural causes, or even escaped his captors, the truth may never be fully known. What is certain, however, is that Edward II's story continues to captivate those who seek to unravel the mysteries of the past. As we leave the shadowy halls of Berkeley Castle behind, we turn our attention to another monarch whose life and death are equally shrouded in mystery. Now, let us venture into the misty highlands of Scotland, where the tale of King James IV unfolds, a monarch whose life and sudden death on the battlefield remain one of the most perplexing chapters in Scottish history. Crowned in the year 1488, James IV was a charismatic and ambitious ruler, known for his efforts to modernize Scotland and strengthen its position on the European stage. His reign was marked by cultural flourishing, military campaigns, and a deep interest in science and the arts. Yet it is his dramatic and untimely death at the Battle of Flodden in the year 1513 that has left historians and storytellers alike searching for answers. The Battle of Flodden, fought against the English forces led by the Earl of Surrey, was a catastrophic defeat for the Scots. James, known for his bravery and often reckless leadership, led his troops into battle personally. However, the Scottish army was outmaneuvered and overwhelmed, resulting in one of the bloodiest conflicts in British history. While it is widely accepted that James died on the battlefield, the exact circumstances of his death remain shrouded in mystery. One of the most enduring theories suggests that James was killed in close combat, struck down by English soldiers as he fought valiantly to rally his troops. This account is supported by contemporary chronicles which describe the king's body being found among the fallen, bearing multiple wounds. However, other accounts paint a more enigmatic picture. Some sources claim that James survived the battle and fled the field, only to disappear without a trace. This theory has given rise to legends that the king lived in exile, perhaps in secret or under an assumed identity, adding a layer of intrigue to his story. Adding to the mystery is the fate of James's body. While it was initially reported that his remains were returned to Scotland and buried, no definitive burial site has ever been confirmed. Some historians argue that his body was never recovered, while others believe it was secretly interred in an unmarked grave to prevent desecration by his enemies. The lack of a clear resting place has fueled speculation and folklore, with some tales suggesting that James's spirit still roams the Scottish Highlands seeking peace. The cultural significance of James IV's death cannot be overstated. His demise marked the end of an era for Scotland, ushering in a period of instability and conflict. The Battle of Flodden became a symbol of national tragedy, immortalized in ballads, poems, and songs that mourn the loss of a beloved king. Even today, the story of James IV resonates deeply in Scottish culture, serving as a reminder of the fragility of power and the enduring allure of unsolved mysteries. As we leave the haunting fields of Flodden behind, we turn our gaze to another monarch whose life and death continue to captivate the imagination. Now we journey to the sun-drenched lands of Castile, where the story of King Alfonso XI unfolds, a ruler whose death remains one of the most puzzling enigmas of medieval Spain. Known as Alfonso the Just, he ascended to the throne in the year 1312, inheriting a kingdom rife with internal strife and external threats. His reign was marked by efforts to consolidate power, strengthen royal authority, and defend Castile against Moorish incursions. Yet it is his sudden and unexplained death in the year 1350 that has left historians grappling with more questions than answers. Alfonso's demise occurred during the Siege of Gibraltar, a critical military campaign aimed at reclaiming the strategic fortress from Moorish control. The king, known for his hands-on approach to leadership, was actively involved in the siege, overseeing operations and rallying his troops. However, on the 26th of March, 1350, Alfonso fell ill under mysterious circumstances. Within days, he was dead, leaving his kingdom in shock and his enemies emboldened. The lack of witnesses to Alfonso's final moments has fueled speculation and conspiracy theories. Some accounts suggest that the king succumbed to a sudden illness, possibly the plague, which was ravaging Europe at the time. Others, however, point to darker possibilities. The absence of detailed records from the siege has led to suspicions of foul play, with some historians proposing that Alfonso may have been poisoned by a rival faction within his own court. The political climate of Castile during Alfonso's reign was fraught with tension. The king's efforts to centralize power had alienated many nobles who resented his attempts to curb their influence. This created a volatile environment ripe for betrayal. Among the most prominent rivals were the powerful Trastamara family, who would later play a significant role in Castilian politics. Some theories suggest that they may have orchestrated Alfonso's death to pave the way for their own rise to power. Adding to the mystery is the fate of Alfonso's body. While it was reported that he was buried in the Royal Chapel of Seville, the exact details of his interment remain unclear. Some accounts claim that his remains were hastily buried to prevent desecration, while others suggest that his tomb was later moved or lost. This uncertainty has only deepened the intrigue surrounding his death, leaving historians and archaeologists to piece together fragments of a story that may never be fully understood. The death of Alfonso XI marked a turning point for Castile, plunging the kingdom into a period of instability and succession disputes. His legacy, however, endures as a testament to the complexities of medieval power struggles and the enduring allure of unsolved mysteries. As we leave the shadowy intrigues of Castile behind, we turn our attention to another monarch whose life and death continue to captivate the imagination. Now we venture into the misty highlands of Scotland, where the tale of King James I unfolds, a monarch whose death remains shrouded in conflicting accounts and enduring intrigue. James, known for his ambitious reforms and efforts to centralize power, ruled Scotland during a time of great political upheaval. His reign, which began in the year 1406, was marked by attempts to curb the influence of powerful nobles and strengthen royal authority. However, it was his brutal and mysterious death in the year 1437 that has left historians puzzled for centuries. The events leading to James's demise are as dramatic as they are perplexing. On the night of the 20th of February 1437, the king was staying at the Dominican Friary in Perth, a place he often visited for solitude and reflection. According to some accounts, James was betrayed by members of his own court who conspired to assassinate him. The conspirators, led by Sir Robert Graham, a disgruntled nobleman, allegedly broke into the friary and attacked the king in his chambers. James, caught off guard and unarmed, reportedly fought valiantly but was ultimately overpowered and killed. Yet the details of this event are far from clear. Historical records present conflicting versions of what transpired that night. Some chronicles suggest that the king's death was the result of a spontaneous act of vengeance by Graham and his allies, while others imply a more calculated plot involving multiple factions within the Scottish nobility. The lack of a unified narrative has fueled speculation and debate among historians, with some arguing that James's death was a direct consequence of his attempts to weaken the power of the aristocracy. Modern interpretations of James's death have added new layers to the mystery. Some scholars point to the political climate of 15th century Scotland, where rivalries between noble families often turned deadly. They argue that James's reforms, while well-intentioned, alienated many powerful figures who saw their influence waning. This, in turn, created an environment where assassination became a viable means of restoring their power. Others have suggested that the king's death may have been part of a broader conspiracy to destabilize the monarchy and pave the way for a new regime. Adding to the intrigue is the fate of James's assassins. While Graham and his co-conspirators were eventually captured and executed, the full extent of their involvement remains unclear. Some accounts suggest that they were mere pawns in a larger game, manipulated by more influential figures who remained in the shadows. This theory has led to speculation about the true masterminds behind the king's death, with some historians pointing to rival noble families or even foreign powers as possible instigators. The death of James I marked a turning point in Scottish history, plunging the kingdom into a period of instability and factional strife. His legacy, however, endures as a cautionary tale of the dangers of political ambition and the fragility of power in a turbulent age. As we leave the shadowy intrigues of Scotland behind, we turn our attention to another monarch whose life and death continue to captivate the imagination. Now we journey to the sun-drenched lands of Castile, where the story of King Alfonso XI unfolds, a ruler whose reign was as remarkable as his death was mysterious. Alfonso, known as the Avenger for his relentless campaigns against the Moors, ascended to the throne in the year 1312, inheriting a kingdom rife with internal strife and external threats. His rule was marked by military prowess and a drive to consolidate power, but it was his sudden and unexplained death in the year 1350 that has left historians scratching their heads for centuries. Alfonso's reign was defined by his determination to reclaim territories lost to Muslim rule. He led numerous successful campaigns, earning him the admiration of his subjects and the fear of his enemies. However, his focus on military conquests often came at the expense of domestic stability, leading to tensions with the nobility and the clergy. Despite these challenges, Alfonso managed to maintain a firm grip on power, earning a reputation as one of Castile's most formidable monarchs. The circumstances surrounding Alfonso's death are as puzzling as they are tragic. In the year 1350, while besieging the fortress of Gibraltar, the king fell ill and died under mysterious conditions. Some accounts suggest that he succumbed to the plague, which was ravaging Europe at the time. Others, however, hint at darker possibilities, including poisoning or assassination. The lack of definitive evidence has fueled speculation, with some historians arguing that his death may have been orchestrated by disgruntled nobles or rival factions within his court. Adding to the intrigue is the timing of Alfonso's death. The siege of Gibraltar was a critical moment in his campaign against the Moors, and his sudden demise left the Castilian forces in disarray. This has led some to speculate that his death was not a natural occurrence but a calculated move to destabilize the kingdom and halt its expansion. The absence of a clear succession plan further complicated matters, plunging Castile into a period of uncertainty and conflict. Modern interpretations of Alfonso's death have only deepened the mystery. Some scholars point to the political climate of 14th century Castile, where rivalries between noble families often turned deadly. They argue that Alfonso's relentless pursuit of power may have made him a target for those who felt threatened by his ambitions. Others have suggested that his death could have been part of a broader conspiracy involving foreign powers, eager to weaken Castile's influence in the region. The legacy of Alfonso XI is a complex one. While he is remembered as a warrior king who fought tirelessly for his kingdom, his death remains one of the great unsolved mysteries of medieval history. The unanswered questions surrounding his demise continue to captivate historians and enthusiasts alike, offering a tantalizing glimpse into the turbulent world of 14th century Castile. As we leave the intrigue of Alfonso's story behind, we turn our attention to another monarch whose life and death remain cloaked in mystery. Now we travel to the rugged highlands of Scotland, where the tale of King James I unfolds, a monarch whose reign was as transformative as his death was shocking. James, known for his efforts to modernize Scotland and strengthen its governance, ascended to the throne in the year 1406 after spending 18 years as a captive in England. His return to Scotland marked the beginning of a reign that would see significant reforms, but it was his brutal and unexpected murder that would leave an indelible mark on Scottish history. James I was a visionary ruler who sought to bring stability and progress to his kingdom. He introduced sweeping legal and administrative reforms, curbing the power of unruly nobles and centralizing authority under the crown. His passion for justice and order earned him both admiration and resentment, as his policies often clashed with the interests of the powerful clans that had long dominated Scottish politics. Despite these challenges, James managed to implement changes that laid the groundwork for a more unified and prosperous Scotland. However, his reign came to a violent and abrupt end in the year 1437. While staying at the Dominican friary in Perth, James was assassinated by a group of conspirators led by his own uncle, Walter Stewart, the Earl of Atholl. The king's murder was not only a personal betrayal but also a stark reminder of the deep-seated tensions within the Scottish nobility. The conspirators, motivated by grievances over James's reforms and their own ambitions, struck in the dead of night, leaving the king with no chance to defend himself. The circumstances of James's death have fueled numerous theories over the centuries. Some historians argue that his assassination was the result of a carefully orchestrated plot by disgruntled nobles who felt threatened by his reforms. Others suggest that the murder was part of a broader power struggle within the royal family, with factions vying for control of the throne. The involvement of his own uncle has led some to speculate that the assassination was driven by personal vendettas as much as political motives. Adding to the mystery is the fact that James had received warnings about a potential threat to his life. Despite these alerts, he chose to remain in Perth, a decision that has puzzled historians. Some believe that his confidence in his reforms and his belief in the loyalty of his subjects may have blinded him to the danger. Others argue that the warnings were not taken seriously enough, highlighting the precarious nature of royal authority in medieval Scotland. The legacy of James I is one of both progress and tragedy. his reforms left a lasting impact on Scotland, shaping its legal and administrative systems for generations to come. Yet his violent death serves as a grim reminder of the challenges faced by rulers who dared to challenge the status quo. The unanswered questions surrounding his assassination continue to intrigue historians, offering a window into the complex and often perilous world of medieval Scottish politics. As we leave the turbulent story of James behind, we turn our attention to another monarch whose life and death remain shrouded in mystery. Now we journey to the heart of medieval England, where the story of King Edward V takes a haunting turn. Edward, the young monarch who ascended the throne at just 12 years old, is perhaps best known not for his reign but for the chilling mystery surrounding his disappearance. His brief time as king, lasting a mere 78 days, ended abruptly, leaving behind a legacy of unanswered questions and enduring intrigue. Edward's rise to power came in the year 1483, following the death of his father, King Edward IV. As a child king, he was placed under the protection of his uncle, Richard, Duke of Gloucester, who was appointed as Lord Protector. This arrangement, meant to ensure stability during Edward's minority, would soon become the center of one of history's most infamous mysteries. Within months of his coronation, Edward and his younger brother, Richard of Shrewsbury, were taken to the Tower of London ostensibly for their safety. However, the two princes were never seen again. Their sudden disappearance sparked widespread speculation and fear, with rumors of foul play quickly spreading. The most widely accepted theory is that the boys were murdered on the orders of their uncle, Richard, who later declared himself King Richard III. This theory gained traction after the discovery of two small skeletons in the tower during the 17th century, though their identities remain unconfirmed. Historians have debated the fate of the princes for centuries, with some suggesting that they may have been secretly smuggled out of the tower and lived under assumed identities. Others point to the political turmoil of the time, arguing that rival factions may have orchestrated their deaths to eliminate potential claimants to the throne. The lack of definitive evidence has only deepened the mystery, leaving the true fate of Edward V and his brother shrouded in uncertainty. Adding to the intrigue is the role of Henry VII, who defeated Richard III at the Battle of Bosworth Field in 1485. Some believe that Henry may have had a hand in the prince's disappearance, using their deaths to solidify his own claim to the throne. However, without concrete proof, this theory remains speculative. The disappearance of Edward V and his brother has become one of history's most enduring enigmas, inspiring countless books, plays, and investigations. The mystery not only highlights the ruthless nature of medieval politics, but also serves as a poignant reminder of the vulnerability of those caught in the crossfire of power struggles. As we leave the shadowy halls of the Tower of London, we turn our attention to another monarch whose life and death remain cloaked in mystery. Now we shift our focus to the enigmatic demise of King Louis X of France, a ruler whose death remains as puzzling as the turbulent era in which he lived. Known as Louis the Quarrelsome, his reign was marked by political strife and social unrest, setting the stage for a mystery that has baffled historians for centuries. Louis ascended to the throne in the year 1314, inheriting a kingdom rife with tension. His father, Philip IV, had left behind a legacy of conflict, particularly with the powerful Templar Order, which had been dismantled under his rule. Louis faced the daunting task of navigating these inherited challenges while contending with his own struggles to maintain authority. The circumstances of Louis's death in 1316 are shrouded in uncertainty. Officially, it was reported that he died after a game of tennis, succumbing to either exhaustion or pneumonia. However, this explanation has been met with skepticism, as it fails to account for the broader political context of his reign. At the time of his death, France was embroiled in a bitter feud between the monarchy and the nobility, with Louis caught in the middle. His attempts to centralize power and impose taxes had alienated many of his subjects, particularly the aristocracy. Some historians speculate that his death may have been the result of foul play, orchestrated by those who sought to weaken the crown. Adding to the intrigue is the fact that Louis's wife, Margaret of Burgundy, had been imprisoned for adultery just a few years earlier, a scandal that further destabilized the monarchy. Her imprisonment and subsequent death in captivity fueled rumors of a curse on the royal family, with some suggesting that Louis's demise was a form of divine retribution. The political climate of the time also raises questions about the role of Louis's brother, Philip V, who succeeded him as king. While there is no direct evidence linking Philip to Louis's death, the timing of his rise to power has led some to speculate about his potential involvement. The mystery of Louis X's death serves as a stark reminder of the precarious nature of power in medieval Europe. His reign, though brief, was a microcosm of the broader struggles between monarchy and nobility, and his untimely demise remains a testament to the dangers of political ambition. As we leave the intrigue of Louis's court, we turn our attention to another monarch whose life and death continue to captivate historians and enthusiasts alike. Now we journey to the mysterious end of King Edward II of England, a ruler whose death is as controversial as his reign. Edward ascended to the throne in the year 1307, inheriting a kingdom already strained by his father's wars and political ambitions. His rule was marked by favoritism, rebellion, and ultimately, a downfall that has left historians debating the truth of his final days. Edward's reign was fraught with tension, particularly due to his close relationship with his favorites, Piers Gaveston and later Hugh Despenser. These relationships alienated the nobility and led to repeated conflicts, culminating in his forced abdication in 1327 in favor of his son, Edward III. Following his abdication, Edward was imprisoned at Berkeley Castle, where his life came to a mysterious end in September 1327. The official account claims that Edward died of natural causes, but this explanation has been widely disputed. The lack of detailed historical records from this period only deepens the mystery. Some chroniclers of the time suggested that his death was far from natural, with rumors circulating that he was murdered on the orders of his wife, Queen Isabella, and her lover, Roger Mortimer, who had orchestrated his overthrow. One of the most infamous theories surrounding Edward's death involves a red-hot poker, a gruesome method said to have been used to kill him without leaving visible marks. While this story has captured the imagination of many, there is little concrete evidence to support it. The absence of a proper autopsy or detailed documentation from the time leaves the truth of his death open to speculation. Adding to the intrigue is the fact that Edward's body was embalmed and displayed publicly, a practice unusual for deposed kings. This has led some to question whether the body shown was truly Edward's or if it was a decoy to conceal his escape. Stories of Edward surviving and living in exile in Europe have persisted for centuries, though they remain unverified. The conflicting accounts and lack of definitive evidence make Edward II's death one of the most enduring mysteries of medieval England. His story is a reminder of the fragility of power and the lengths to which political rivals might go to secure their own ambitions. As we leave the shadowy corridors of Berkeley Castle, we prepare to uncover the fate of another monarch whose life and death continue to puzzle historians to this day. Turning our attention to the enigmatic tale of King Erik V of Denmark, we find a ruler whose life and death are shrouded in as much mystery as the foggy moors of his homeland. Known as Erik Clipping or Erik the Evergood, his reign began in the year 1286, a time when Denmark was grappling with internal strife and shifting alliances. Erik's rule was marked by efforts to stabilize the kingdom, but his legacy is overshadowed by the bizarre and unresolved circumstances of his death in the year 1286. Erik's reign was relatively short, yet it was not without its challenges. he faced opposition from powerful nobles who resented his attempts to centralize power and curb their influence. Despite these struggles, Eric managed to maintain a semblance of order, earning him the nickname the Evergood for his perceived benevolence. However, his death would cast a long shadow over his achievements, leaving historians and storytellers alike puzzled for centuries. On a cold November night in 1286, Eric was found dead in a barn in the village of Finderup near Viborg. The official account claimed that he was assassinated by a group of disgruntled nobles, but the details surrounding his death are anything but clear. Some accounts suggest that Eric was lured into a trap, while others hint at a more personal vendetta. The lack of definitive evidence has fueled endless speculation, making his death one of the most enduring mysteries of medieval Denmark. Adding to the intrigue are the mythical elements that have become intertwined with Eric's story. Folklore tells of a curse placed upon the king by a peasant woman he wronged, a tale that has been passed down through generations. According to legend, the woman's dying words foretold that Eric would meet a violent end, a prophecy that seemingly came true. While these stories are likely embellishments, they highlight the enduring fascination with Eric's fate and the human desire to find meaning in the inexplicable. The circumstances of Eric's death have also led to questions about the political climate of the time. Was his assassination a calculated move by his enemies, or was it the result of a broader conspiracy? The absence of clear answers has allowed various theories to flourish, from claims of betrayal by his closest advisors to suggestions of foreign involvement. What is certain is that Eric's death marked a turning point for Denmark, plunging the kingdom into a period of instability and conflict. As we reflect on the life and death of King Eric V, we are reminded of the fragile nature of power and the enduring allure of unsolved mysteries. His story, a blend of historical fact and mythical embellishment, continues to captivate those who seek to unravel the secrets of the past. And now, as we move forward, we prepare to uncover the fate of another monarch whose life and death remain cloaked in mystery. Now, let us journey to the heart of medieval England, where the story of King Edward II unfolds, a tale as tragic as it is perplexing. Edward, who ascended to the throne in the year 1307, ruled during a time of political turmoil and personal strife. His reign was marked by conflicts with powerful barons, a disastrous military campaign in Scotland, and a deeply strained relationship with his wife, Queen Isabella. Yet, it is the circumstances of his death that have left historians and scholars scratching their heads for centuries. Edward's downfall began in the year 1326, when his wife Isabella and her lover Roger Mortimer led a rebellion against him. The king was eventually captured and forced to abdicate in favor of his young son, Edward III. Imprisoned in Berkeley Castle, Edward's fate took a dark and mysterious turn. Officially, it was announced that he died on the 21st of September, 1327, but the details of his death remain shrouded in controversy. The most widely accepted account claims that Edward was murdered in his cell, with some sources suggesting he was suffocated or even killed with a red-hot poker, a gruesome method that has become the stuff of legend. However, this version of events has been called into question by historians who point to the lack of concrete evidence. No official records from the time confirm the manner of his death, and the accounts that do exist are often contradictory or heavily embellished. Adding to the mystery are the persistent rumors that Edward may have escaped his captors and lived out his days in exile. Some medieval chronicles suggest that a body double was buried in his place, while others claim that Edward fled to Italy or even to a remote monastery in England. These theories, though intriguing, remain unproven, leaving the truth of Edward's fate as elusive as ever. Archaeological findings have done little to settle the debate. The tomb at Gloucester Cathedral, long believed to hold Edward's remains, has been the subject of speculation for centuries. While the effigy on the tomb is undeniably that of a king, no definitive proof exists to confirm the identity of the body beneath it. Modern examinations of the remains have been inconclusive, leaving the mystery of Edward's death unresolved. As we ponder the life and death of King Edward II, we are reminded of the fragility of power and the enduring allure of historical enigmas. His story, a blend of political intrigue, personal betrayal, and unanswered questions, continues to captivate those who seek to uncover the secrets of the past. And now, as we turn the page, we prepare to delve into the fate of another monarch whose life and death remain cloaked in mystery. Shifting our focus to the enigmatic tale of King Louis X of France, we encounter a monarch whose sudden and unexpected death has puzzled historians for centuries. Known as Louis the Headstrong, his reign was brief but eventful, marked by political reforms and a relentless pursuit of power. Yet it is the mystery surrounding his demise that has cemented his place in the annals of medieval intrigue. Louis ascended to the throne in the year 1314, inheriting a kingdom fraught with internal strife and external threats. His reign saw efforts to centralize authority and curb the influence of the nobility, but his ambitions were cut short in the year 1316, when he died under circumstances that remain unclear. Officially, his death was attributed to natural causes, but the lack of detailed records from the time has fueled speculation and debate. One of the most persistent theories suggests that Louis may have been poisoned. This idea stems from the suddenness of his death and the political tensions of the era. As a ruler who sought to consolidate power, Louis made numerous enemies among the nobility, some of whom may have seen his removal as a necessary step to protect their own interests. However, no concrete evidence has ever been found to support this claim, leaving it as one of many possibilities. Another intriguing theory revolves around the possibility of foul play during a game of tennis. According to some accounts, Louis collapsed and died shortly after playing a match, leading to speculation that he may have been struck by a poisoned ball or drink. While this theory adds a dramatic twist to the story, it remains largely unsubstantiated, with no reliable sources from the period confirming such an event. Adding to the mystery is the fact that Louis's body was never subjected to a thorough examination. Unlike other medieval monarchs whose remains have been studied for clues, Louis's burial site has not yielded any definitive answers. His tomb, located in the Basilica of Saint Denis, has been the subject of curiosity, but modern investigations have yet to uncover any evidence that could shed light on the true cause of his death. As we reflect on the life and death of King Louis X, we are reminded of the fragility of power and the enduring allure of historical mysteries. His story, a blend of ambition, political intrigue, and unanswered questions, continues to captivate those who seek to unravel the secrets of the past. And now, as we turn our attention to the next chapter, we prepare to explore the fate of another monarch whose life and death remain shrouded in mystery. Turning our attention to the 29th monarch on our list, we delve into the perplexing case of King Erik V of Denmark, whose untimely death remains one of the most baffling mysteries of medieval Scandinavia. Known as Erik Plougpenny for his efforts to reform taxation, his reign was marked by both progress and turmoil. Yet it is the shadowy circumstances of his demise that have left historians scratching their heads for centuries. Erik ascended to the throne in the year 1259, inheriting a kingdom grappling with internal divisions and external pressures. His attempts to modernize the Danish economy and strengthen royal authority earned him both admirers and enemies. However, his reign came to a sudden and violent end in the year 1286, when he was assassinated in a remote part of the kingdom. What makes his death particularly mysterious is the complete lack of witnesses or concrete evidence surrounding the event. Theories about Erik's assassination abound, with many pointing to the intense rivalries and power struggles that defined his reign. One prominent faction believed to be involved was the Danish nobility, who had grown increasingly resentful of Erik's reforms. By centralizing power and imposing new taxes, he had alienated many of the powerful families who saw their influence waning. Some historians speculate that these nobles may have orchestrated his murder as a way to reclaim their lost privileges. Another angle suggests that external forces may have played a role. At the time, Denmark was caught in a web of alliances and conflicts with neighboring kingdoms, including Norway and Sweden. It's possible that foreign agents seeking to destabilize the Danish crown could have been behind the assassination. However, like many aspects of this mystery, this theory remains speculative due to the absence of definitive proof. Adding to the intrigue is the fact that Erik's body was never properly examined. Unlike other medieval kings whose remains have been studied for clues, Erik's burial site has yielded no answers. His tomb, located in the Cathedral of Viborg, has been the subject of curiosity, but modern investigations have yet to uncover any evidence that could shed light on the true circumstances of his death. As we reflect on the life and death of King Erik V, we are reminded of the precarious nature of power in the medieval world. His story, a blend of reform, rivalry, and unresolved questions, continues to captivate those who seek to understand the complexities of history. And now, as we prepare to explore the final chapter of our journey, we turn to the 30th monarch on our list, whose mysterious demise brings us to the end of this fascinating exploration. As we reach the final chapter of our journey through the enigmatic deaths of medieval kings, we turn to the 30th and last monarch on our list, King James III of Scotland. His reign, marked by political intrigue and personal turmoil, ended in a manner that has puzzled historians for centuries. The contradictions in the historical records surrounding his death only deepen the mystery, leaving us with more questions than answers. James ascended to the throne in the year 1460, inheriting a kingdom fraught with internal strife and external threats. Known for his love of the arts and his efforts to centralize royal authority, James faced fierce opposition from powerful nobles who resented his policies. His reign was a turbulent one, culminating in the Battle of Socherborn in the year 1488, where he met his untimely end. But how exactly he died remains a subject of heated debate. The official accounts of the time claim that James was killed in battle, struck down by an enemy soldier as he fought valiantly for his kingdom. However, other sources suggest a far more sinister scenario. Some chronicles hint that James was betrayed by his own men, possibly even his son, the future King James IV. According to these accounts, the king was captured after the battle and executed in secret, his death staged to appear as though it occurred in combat. The lack of eyewitness testimony and the conflicting narratives have fueled speculation for centuries. Modern historians have attempted to unravel the truth by examining the surviving records and archaeological evidence. Some argue that the inconsistencies in the accounts point to a deliberate cover-up, orchestrated to protect those responsible for James's death. Others suggest that the confusion stems from the chaotic nature of the battle itself, with multiple factions vying for control of the narrative in its aftermath. Despite these efforts, the exact circumstances of James's demise remain elusive. Adding to the intrigue is the fact that James's body was never properly identified or examined. While some sources claim he was buried in Cambuskenneth Abbey, others dispute this, leaving his final resting place a mystery. Modern attempts to locate his remains have been inconclusive, further complicating efforts to uncover the truth. As we reflect on the life and death of King James III, we are reminded of the fragile nature of power and the lengths to which people will go to secure it. His story, a tapestry of ambition, betrayal, and unanswered questions, serves as a fitting conclusion to our exploration of these 30 medieval kings whose deaths remain shrouded in mystery. Thank you for joining us on this journey through history's most perplexing enigmas. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more fascinating tales from the past. Until next time, keep exploring the mysteries that history leaves behind. As we bring our exploration of these 30 medieval kings to a close, it's impossible not to marvel at the enduring allure of their stories. Each monarch from the 1st to the 30th left behind a legacy intertwined with mystery, a puzzle that continues to captivate historians and enthusiasts alike. Whether it was betrayal on the battlefield, a sudden disappearance, or a death shrouded in secrecy, these kings remind us that history is not always a clear-cut narrative. Instead, it's a tapestry woven with threads of intrigue, power struggles, and unanswered questions. What makes these stories so compelling is not just the mystery itself, but what it reveals about the human condition. These kings ruled in an era where power was precarious, alliances were fragile, and survival often depended on cunning and ruthlessness. Their deaths, often sudden and unexplained, serve as windows into the turbulent times they lived in, times where the line between fact and fiction was often blurred. And yet, centuries later, we're still piecing together the fragments of their lives, searching for answers that may never come. The fascination with these unsolved cases goes beyond mere curiosity. It speaks to our desire to understand the past, to connect with the people who shaped it, and to uncover the truths that history has tried to conceal. Each theory, each piece of evidence, and each new discovery adds another layer to the mystery, keeping these stories alive in our collective imagination. Now we turn to you, our viewers. What do you think happened to these kings? Do you have a theory about King James III's death, or perhaps one of the other monarchs we've discussed? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your ideas and insights. And if you've enjoyed this journey through history's greatest mysteries, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new exploration into the past. Thank you for joining us, and until next time, keep unraveling the mysteries that history leaves behind.